Scarface is one of my favorite movies. I loved it. I watched it when I was a kid, I think for the first time, but I've seen it like 4 or 5 times already because I always like to revisit what made Scarface so popular, what made him a very riveting and interesting character, and what also made him successful. He also had some very negative attributes that I like to identify and I try to avoid. The biggest thing about Scarface that we can understand is that he had a very strong immigrant mentality. He immigrated from Cuba. Cuba was a socialist, communist country, and he came to the United States, a capitalistic, opportunistic country. And you can see the transition where in Cuba he didn't have much. He was poor. He didn't have much opportunity. There wasn't much that he could do in that country. So when he escaped and he got to the United States, he saw a new world opening to him. And I think that's something that a lot of immigrants can resonate. That's something that I can certainly resonate with, because my parents came from Mexico, and I remember when I was a kid, there was a lot of things that I went through as a first generation immigrant that made me have more ambition in life. I saw how it was coming from the bottom, coming from zero, not having much, and seeing so much opportunity here in the United States that I always thought to myself that I could not lose this opportunity. I had to take full advantage of it. And that's something that comes with the immigrant mentality. It's like this hunger that you start to develop because you see how it is coming from the bottom and you're trying to make it to the top. When they're in the car and he's like, I want what's coming to me. And Manelo's like, what's that, Tony? And he's like, the world, Chico, and everything in it. He had so much ambition. Even though he was at a very good place in his life, he was making things happen, he still wanted more. And I think that's something that's very powerful, to never be satisfied, never get to a point where you're comfortable and you're satisfied. You always want to keep working and try to get to the next level. And there's always a new mountain to climb. And I think that's what Scarface embodied in that clip. The negative part about Scarface's immigrant ambition is that he had too much ambition, where he was becoming too paranoid and he was becoming he was getting too worked up in his mind, too precautious, that paranoia was messing with his brain. And we saw that when he murdered his best friend Manny. It's a good thing to have strong ambition, but you need to make sure that it's healthy ambition. It's not getting to the point where it's paranoia, where you're questioning different things and it's becoming like a self-destructive emotion within you. You can see this a lot with a lot of very ambitious drug lords right now, like El Chapo. A lot of them suffer through paranoia, and they self-destruct because they're allowing like those thoughts to overcome them. And that's exactly how Scarface finished. He basically self-destructed himself because he was making enemies with Sosa. He killed off his best friend. He killed his sister. Like he was just self-destructing. So ambition is very powerful, but again, it's about how you channel it and making sure that you're channeling it the correct way. And you're always making sure that you're taking care of your friends and your family, and you're not letting it overdo itself into paranoia or any of these other negative self-destructive emotions. The next thing is that he had very strong family values. So his family values were very powerful because he never forgot about his mom. He never forgot about his sister. He went off on a mission to become a greater man, and in his mind he accomplished that because he was making money. He was actually making deals happen. And when he did reach that point, he came back to his family, and you could tell that he did a lot for his family. He wanted to make sure that his family was well off. Personally, in my life, a lot of things that I do is for my family. I think about my mom, I think about my dad and all the sacrifices that they did in their lives for me to be where I'm at today. And I always do a lot thinking about them. Like if I get to the next point, I always want to help them financially. I want to help them in whatever way that I can. With my family, with my brothers as well, my nephews. I know there's a new generation of Medinas, my family branch, that's coming into the picture, and I want to make sure that they have a good leader that can mentor them. And also, if they ever have any questions or they ever need any support, that I can be there to help them. So it's those strong family values that can be used for motivation to help you in your goals. The negative side about his family ambition is that he let it get too far. In the quest of him doing the best that he could for his family, he kind of lost himself. his thought process was that he's doing it for the right thing. He's helping his family and he's doing the right things for his family, but he went down a negative route. So I think it's very helpful to assess if whatever you're doing, if it's good for society, if it's good for humankind, if you're actually helping people the correct way, or if you're hurting other people in the efforts of helping your family. I think that's also a recipe for disaster, and this is something that happens to a lot of drug dealers, a lot of drug lords, people that go off in these like these negative careers where they affect people negatively, whether they're selling drugs or they're doing things that are hurting people. I think at the end of the day, it's always going to come for a full circle, and it's going to hurt you in the long run. Even if you think that you're doing it for the positive, if you think you're doing good by helping your family, it's always going to come full circle and it's going to hurt you in the long run. I think that's like the definition of karma. And then the last thing that we can analyze from Scarface is that he always wanted more, and he was never satisfied. Like when he was a dishwasher, he always knew that he wanted to get to the next level. He was never satisfied in his position. He knew that he was destined for greater things. And I think that we integrate that type of mentality can help us too. We'll constantly be thinking of getting to that next level, getting to a point where we're maximizing ourselves, actually becoming the strongest version of ourselves. The negative side to that is that it can also hurt you, because if you're trying to stretch yourself so thin that you're doing one thing and then you're doing another thing, you can burn yourself out because of that. You know, it's better to focus on one thing and do it the right way than being stressed out so thin that you can't think correctly. The Scarface effect is very powerful because it helps you have that stronger mentality, have that ambitious, persistent mentality. Remember your motivation, remember your family values, never be satisfied with something, always try to reach for that next level. There's always that next mountain to climb. And I think if you integrate that Scarface effect, it will help you with your own goals, whether it's your physical, spiritual, mental, or shadow goals. If you have seen Scarface, what's your favorite characteristic of Scarface? Drop it down in the comments. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to give us a like. I'll catch all of you in the next video. Stay strong and keep on conquering. Peace.